Hi everyone, it's Stacy with So Steady. Sorry for the late arrival. We are here and excited to have you all joining us today for our Churn in the Garden class. We are going to be diving into this amazing project that Melissa created using the amazing tools that are inside of your box and a little bit more. So we hope you sit back and enjoy this day. We do have an announcement. We're going to be kicking off our Churn Dash Challenge, which will be going through the end of September with an open gallery in early October. I'll be posting a link to that here momentarily as well, so you guys can kind of start picking out which projects you've already created or you have in the works that you might want to include in our Churn Dash Challenge. But let me go ahead and get this video started right now for you with Melissa, and we'll have her take it away and we'll be answering questions as well. Thank you so much for your patience. Again, we're sorry for getting started a little late today.
Hi everybody, this is Melissa with So Steady, and I hope everybody's been staying cool, and it's a perfect time with how hot it's been to be indoors working on quilt projects, especially with all the new goodies we got in our Q3 Churn Dash Club box. So I love to garden, so I called my project a Churn in the Garden because we're focusing on the churn block too. And anyways, we're going to be creating 3 Churn Dash blocks to start with, and we're just following the mini Churn Dash quilt block that you got in your club box. And I did do a little bit of fussy cutting on this one. I kind of thought it was fun. I had some fun garden fabrics, so I just took advantage of that. And then I really wanted to learn how to do curved piecing. I've never done it before, and I was watching another gal, I think it was on a YouTube video, who was doing it. And I've always loved like the look of landscape quilts. If you guys have seen those, I think they're stunning. And I love how they put like the different curves in and kind of could go from like, you know, the grass to the mountains to the sky. So this is the first time I tried it, and then we're going to be doing it again today. So it'll be my second time learning how to cut these curves and then piece them together. So on my first try, you'll see I didn't do really big curves. I was just kind of practicing. So we'll try to do a little bit more pronounced ones on the second one that we're doing today. But you can kind of see the curves here and the different fabrics that I did. And surprisingly, it lays pretty flat. So I was surprised because of how you piece it together. So I'm really excited to go over this class with you today. We're going to be using some of the templates that we got in our Q3 box, the Spin Effects to quilt, and also the Butterflies in Flight. So anyways, I did this very scrappy. The one that we're doing today is going to be very scrappy too. So that's what I think of a garden, lots of colors. So there's no rules, just keep, you know, whatever fabric you want to use. And we're just going to kind of mix it up and focus on doing these curved pieces and piecing them together. And then we'll finish it again with some quilting. So anyways, I'm really excited for you to join us. So let's get started. So to get started, the very first thing that we're gonna do, you can see on the original one that I did, is we're gonna make just 3 Churn Dash blocks. We're gonna make those the exact same way that we did in the Elevate Club box, your mini quilt pattern that you got to do the mini Churn Dash block. That's exactly what they are. They're just gonna be your 6" by 6" Churn Dash blocks, and you're gonna make 3 of them. So I did them where, even on my original, I did a little fussy cutting with some like garden fabric that I have. And so I'm gonna do the same thing on the one that I'm doing today. So I have 3 Churn Dash blocks already made. I did some cute garden fabric. I had this, and if you can see it in the video, but they're garden tags, and this one says poppies, that one says daisies, and this one says sunflowers. So I'm sticking with kind of my scrappy garden theme here. I'm going to be using a lot of colorful fabrics, but anyways, we're going to go ahead and get 3 of those blocks done. And then the next thing that we're going to do is these strips that I put in between the Churn Dash blocks are 1.5" strips. So go ahead and cut out enough strips. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you need 4 because we're going to put them on the top and the bottom of each of those Churn Dash blocks. So cut out 4 1.5" strips, and then we're just going to go ahead and put it on the top and on the bottom and get that sewed together, and then we'll square up that run right there with the Churn Dash blocks. So I didn't actually follow a pattern. I just made this one up myself. So I'm just going to walk you through it a little bit. But anyways, again, to begin, just make 3 Churn Dash blocks, the 6" ones. Follow the same mini thing that you did in your box. I did a video a few weeks back on it as well. And you can get those ready. And then we're gonna do again the 1.5 inch strips. I grabbed this fabric. It's got some little watering cans on it and little flower baskets. So this is gonna be very scrappy and very colorful, but I'm gonna go ahead and get my strips cut out, and I'm gonna sew them to the top and bottom of the churn dash blocks, and then we'll be back for the next step. All right, so here are my 3 churn dash blocks, and then I have sewed the strip of fabric in between them. So that is what it looks like, and I've got it all pressed, ready to go. And then what we're gonna do, like kind of what I did over here, I'll just turn you a little bit here. So I also sewed strips of fabric down the side, so we're gonna frame this. Now you can do that in the same fabric as you want, like that you did in the middle here, or again, if you're gonna be scrappy, mix it up. I had extra strips of this fabric that I used for the center of the churn dash block, which had all the little like flower tags on it. So I'm gonna use that to sew down the sides of my 3 churn dash and then get that framed. And then we're gonna be done with this section for a while. We're gonna set that aside and we're gonna move on to the cutting of the curved pieces. So I'll be showing how to do that and then what you need to get prepped for that. But in the meantime, go ahead and get the strips sewn down the sides of your churn dash block, get that all nice and pressed, and then set that aside. So we are done with this then. I've got my new version right here, and then of course my old version over there to take a look at. I ended up actually cutting the side pieces at 2 inches versus 1.5 inches because I realized I mentioned to cut these strips that are in between the churn dash as 1.5, but I think they're actually 2 inches on the first one that I did. Not that it matters, but this is what happens when I'm not following a pattern. I thought I did them at 1.5, they are 2 inches, so I'll make sure I note that on this class that the strips to frame the churn dash are 2-inch strips. So I went ahead and did the 2 inches here on this new one down the long sides, but I ended up doing those at 1.5 because I forgot what I did before. So, but anyways, it still looks good. 1.5, 2 inches. I don't think it really matters. Again, I didn't really follow a pattern. I just kind of made it up. So it'll just have a little bit of a different look, just a little thinner in between the churn dashes versus the thicker strips. And then I did 2 inches on the side. So we are gonna just let that hang out. And then what I'm gonna do is get myself ready first. So get out various colors of fabric if that's what you like. A traditional landscape quilt, I would think when you're doing it, I mean, the idea is like you would have, you know, the strips down here be the grass, and then you'd get into the hills and then the sky. So you could go from like, you know, browns to greens to the blues. This is a churn in the garden, so I'm gonna be more doing like a garden scape. So I'm just gonna be doing lots of greens and colorful flower fabrics as the different strip pieces. But I'm gonna get those prepped because I'm gonna tell you how wide you're gonna want to cut your strips of fabric if you want them pre-cut. And because you do need quite a bit of fabric because you have to overlap when you're cutting so that you leave enough to overlap both fabrics. And again, I'll explain that as we're cutting it so that when you piece it and you cut it out, you have enough left over. So it's really hard when you get into these thinner pieces. I did it just because this is the first time I did it, so I was just kind of practicing. I wouldn't probably do a lot of skinny pieces like that because I thought it was a lot more difficult and to piece those two together because it's just a really thin piece of fabric. So I'll probably do them a little bit thicker, but we can do a couple thin ones too just to give it a variation and just kind of go through the process. So I'm going to pull a bunch of fabrics out and then we'll talk about how wide you want to cut them, how we're going to overlap them, and then I'll show you how to cut them and piece them together to get that nice piece to curve that you can see right here. So I was kind of surprised that it actually laid so flat too. I was a little worried, but it was fun. So I'm excited to show it to you. Anyways, let me get myself prepped and I'll be right back. All right, let's get started on our garden scape. So I have a total of probably, let's see, I think it's 11 fabrics, different fabrics. And I just stayed within a similar color scheme, but again, it's gonna be scrappy. So these are just a lot of scrap pieces of fabric I have. And then you're gonna cut them between, I would say 4 or 5 inches. Now, this is where you can get it creative because it just depends on how big you want your curves that you're gonna cut. So if you want big curves, you obviously are going to need a bigger piece of fabric. If we're doing shorter mountains, I guess, or curves, then you don't need quite as wide a piece. I found that between 4 or 5 inches seems to work, because what you're going to have to do is we're going to be overlapping them about an inch. Now again, that also varies depending on how much room you want to cut and how deep you want them. So if you want to go really deep, you're going to be overlapping your two fabrics a little bit more, and I'll show you when we go ahead and get them cut. And then as far as length, I just gave myself length because this is as big or as wide as you want it. On the one that I did previously, I think this was, let's see, it's like, so this was like 13 and a half, but I started out with a lot longer pieces. That way you have room to square it up if you want. So for the ones that I'm doing today, I think there are, let's see, they're roughly about 20 inches. So 20 inches in length by 4 or 5 inches in width. And again, you're going to want to vary your fabrics based on how you're trying to lay out your quilt. So if you want it to be more like a landscape and you want to go from like the ground to the sky, you would lay out your colors that way. Or if you're just doing a scrappy like gardenscape like I'm doing, it doesn't really matter. I've got lots of colors in here. But I did kind of go from my flowers, and then up here I have fabric sets, got like dragonflies in it and butterflies and then bees that I'm going to finish off with. So we'll see how it looks when it's all done. Anyway, so to start off, again, what you're going to do, let me get you adjusted here. So I picked my first two fabrics. This is going to be my bottom one. This is going to be my top one. And this can vary a little bit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my bottom fabric just so I have a straight line. So I just have it on my grid here, you can see. Now the top one, I'm going to overlap it 1 inch. So I'm going to bring it down and overlap it 1 inch. And then I'm going to use my ruler as kind of a guide so that I know that I'm overlapped, these two fabrics are overlapped each other. So when I'm cutting, I'm going to want to stay within this 1 inch because I need both fabrics to be cut exactly the same. You are cutting them both with right sides up, which seemed kind of not correct to me, but it's how it works. So you do put them right side up. And then when they sew them together, it works, they're flat. So that's how it works. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And again, what I'm going to do, you're just kind of freehanding this. So there's no rhyme or reason to it. I like to start off with a little bit of a straight edge, and then I'm just going to create. Now again, you can keep them as sweeping as you want, or you can, you know, make them bigger. Again, as long as I stay within that one area. So there we go. So I'm going to throw this piece away. Those are my two pieces, and then I should have the green underneath. Oh, I'm going to throw that away. So I don't think I overlapped enough, but we'll see if it still works. Oh, there's my other green piece. That's why you definitely want to give yourself enough room to overlap, because you want to cut both fabrics so that they mirror up when you sew them together. I think I was close enough though. So maybe on the next one we'll overlap just a little bit more, maybe like 1.5 inches. The more you overlap, obviously the bigger you're going to need to make your strip pieces of fabric. So let's go. So then what I'm going to do is you're going to turn these around, and we're going to start sewing these together. Now it's kind of going to be different because when you start sewing, it's kind of like doing curved. If you ever sewn, you know, like Drunkard's Path or any other curved thing, when you first start out, it doesn't look like they match up, but then you're going to have to keep maneuvering the fabric as you sew to where all these match up all the way down. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so here's how the first two pieces pieced together. So it turned out actually nicer than I thought. So this next time we're going to just make sure we overlap a little bit more. It still turned out okay, still gave me a room to you know, piece. So what you do is you kind of just keep lining up the two pieces together and stick with that 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way, and then it lays really flat and nice. So I just gave it a quick press, so you know, I'll probably, you know, put some starch on it and stuff later when I get going and get it, you know, before I cut it and piece it together. But that is our first one. So you can see how the waves are nice. I think it looks nicer the better that you can make the waves. And you can make them more severe, I guess, or you can make them more rolly, however you want. Or you can do like a big one and then a couple small ones. I don't know. We'll just play around with it because we're kind of, you know, making it up as we go today. So let's get on with our next one. So the next one is going to be this color. And again, I'm going to line myself up and let's make sure. So if I overlap 2 inches, let's try that. 2 inches there. That's going to give this piece right here. But then that's how much we're wasting too on the back side. But again, it's of how big you want to be able to make those curves. So I want to make sure that I stay within, again, need to make sure that's there. I think that's where I got off last time. So I've got 2 inches right here of overlapped fabric that I can work with whatever kind of wave design I want to do. And again, freehanding, so I'm just gonna, you know, and you can start, like I can start and kind of come up at a wave. Maybe I'll do that a little bit. Maybe I'll start up here. Yeah, I don't know. And let's just start cutting. So I'm gonna kind of just hold both the fabrics together while I'm doing it. Maybe I'll do a couple smaller ones, a big long one, a couple smaller ones, and then kind of finish off at a little bit of a curve. Let's see how that's going to look. So again, this top piece is going to get thrown away. I'm going to move this down. This is going to be your other piece. That's what it should look. So that's enough overlap that you want. You definitely want a good overlap. That again is going to be scrap. Then we're going to sew these 2 pieces together. So I'm going to take you over to the sewing machine this time and just show you how I do that so that you can see. And then those will be our first 3 pieces. All right, so here's those 2 pieces that we just cut. And we're going to start sewing them together. So you can see when I flip them around, I feel like getting started is the hardest part. So to get started, I really want to make sure that I am getting my 1/4 inch seam allowance first. So it doesn't really matter what's going on with this top fabric to really get it started. And you'll find out, like, as you're doing this, you know, what kind of curves are easier and which ones are a little bit more difficult. But what I'm trying to do is, obviously, I have a little bit of a curve here, and I'm going to want that right at the edge of my needle, like right there, because that's where I'm going to first start. So this piece is going to need to be right. Sometimes I just need to get my needle on it to get those 2 fabrics to line up right. Let's see. I have to fiddle with it for just a second. And then we're gonna get started. Get those first 2 stitches going. Sometimes you might be at a really odd angle. And then what I'm gonna do is I've got my one hand that's gonna be maneuvering my top piece and my bottom hand that's gonna be maneuvering this bottom piece. So what I'm trying to do is keep their edges together as they go through the different swoops and valleys. And then also keep it at that 1/4 inch seam allowance at the same time. So there's nothing fast about this, I will say. So this is a lot of maneuvering back and forth, especially if you have more peaks and valleys. Oops. It is kind of forgiving though, I will say. Like, I've gotten done with a few and I noticed that I didn't quite stay at my, like, my 1/4 inch seam allowance there. And it was pretty forgiving. It still laid pretty flat when I ironed it and pressed it, and let's see here. down on our curve. And this one needs to kind of come up a little bit more. So the more severe your curves to, a little bit trickier it is to piece because you're trying to really maneuver those peaks and valleys all at the same time and keep your seam allowance and line up the fabrics. So the rolling, I guess the more rolling of your peaks and valleys are a little easier. Let's see, almost kind of need to lift my foot a little bit. Need to come a little bit further. And I'm going to maneuver this top one a little bit better. And the bottom one. It does seem so the opposite of how you would normally traditionally lay out a couple pieces of fabric. So it does kind of throw me a little bit, but it ends up working really nicely, as you saw with that first one. So let's see here, right down to the very end. Just got those last two that are almost, there we go. All right, we'll see how well I did. I don't know. I'm gonna go press this. So that's what it looks like right now, not pressed. Not too bad, not too shabby, but I'll press it and then show you what it looks like. This is what the back of it looks like right now. Those were the two pieces. And then let's see, I'm just gonna go this way. This is the front now. You see how nice that lays. Really nice seams. Pieced together pretty nice. So you can see what I mean about it. It's a little forgiving, so you don't have to be absolutely, you know, perfect. So I think what I'm going to do is, because I don't want it visually, I don't want all, you know, these to be the same, you know, width, obviously. So I think the next one, I'm going to try to do a little bit more so that this piece is going to be a little skinnier. So it'll be more like this when I'm done. So I will have a little bit more waist, but then that's what gives you the visual interest too of the different sizes. So let's go cut some more. All right. So my next piece that I have ready to go is going to be this one. So let's see, I've got this lined up on my 14 mark. So let's overlap to about 16, I think, again. Because then if I cut, let's see, 16 would be right here. So I'm not lined up very straight, so it's a little, I'd make it pretty skinny right there. So maybe we do, well, that's okay. I think that would still look good. What do you think? So I have about, it's like, yeah, I'm about right there. Let me make sure I'm overlapped over there. I am. So I have this much room to play with. So I'm going to, I think I'm going to start at, well, not quite so severe, but maybe right here this time. Let's see. Take that away. That away. What do we got right here? So this might be tricky. Look what I did over here. It's quite the curve. So we'll see how well that ends up turning out. So let's go piece that one together. I think I'm gonna even try to do a skinnier one next time. I was hoping to get this a little skinnier, but I think I'll do even a little bit more. So let's go. I'm gonna go piece that one again. We're gonna do the same thing. What you do is flip it over. You're gonna start, again, getting that first point's kind of tricky, especially if you have a curve right off the very bat. But we're gonna just kind of line that up as much as we can, and then we're just gonna work this all the way back down until we get it pieced together. So I'm gonna go over to the sewing machine, do that, and then we'll come back. All right, here we are. So let's get these two pieces sewn together. So I think I was trying to do it the wrong angle last time. So you can see how we really want to get the needle right there to get that started so that we get those first two lined up as much as possible. And then as we start working our way down, we'll just keep maneuvering that fabric to line up as we go. So that's kind of the part that I find a little tricky right off the bat, is to get that first part lined up just right. So I really just want those two pieces. Let's see. That corner piece to be just, so it's going to be more like that. Which doesn't look right, but that's going to allow that first piece. And yeah. Oops. Oh. Apparently, after I get it all nice and done, I've unthreaded my needle here. Oops, sorry. Let's try this again. Hate it when I do that. Okay, so once I get that first stitch or two in, then I can kind of maneuver the fabric a little bit better. And I'm not really pulling or anything. I'm just trying to help guide those as they go up and down again, that they stay together and they stay at my 1/4 inch seam allowance. I think that's the tricky part. Which is why I think too, you're not trying to go very fast. You're just, I find that if I focus on the bottom one, keeping it at the edge of my ruler foot, because I do have this set up at a 1/4 inch, then it's just a matter of keeping my top piece to the bottom piece versus trying to feel like I'm trying to follow both of them. I just make sure that bottom green fabric is what's staying at the edge of my foot. And then your top fabric obviously is just staying at the, following your fabric. If that made any sense. And if you have a really big curve, you know, you can slow down, put more stitches in it like you would if you were doing, you know, other curved designs. The more stitches and the closer the stitches, the easier it is for the fabric to kind of bend and curve with it, and it will help it lay a little bit flatter when you go to press it. Oh, it's a little bit bigger curve there, so I guess I could go a little bit faster. Almost done, and I have this really weird finish that I did. See how that turns out. It's going to be a bit of a curve. So I'm gonna go a little slower. Again, making sure that bottom fabric is staying at the end of my needle, or the end of my foot. Okay. There we go. Oops, sorry. Keep hitting my camera. So we'll go press that, and then we're just gonna keep on going, and we'll just vary how we do the curves, how thick the different ones are, and just keep following that same process till we've got our whole piece done, and then we'll cut it out and do some quilting on it. But for now, we're just gonna go back and keep pressing and cutting and piecing it together. So I wanted you to see what this looked like after it was pressed before I got started again. So that is kind of what we have going on right now. And even this kind of steep corner over here, it pressed out pretty nice. So it is easier to do more sweeping though, but mix it up. I like to kind of challenge myself a little bit too. So we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna try to do a little thinner one next time, and meaning I think this one's gonna be thinner. So it's gonna, by the time I'm done, it's gonna be more of a this wide, and then we'll have the other one on top of it. See what that looks like. So I'm gonna keep at it, and I'll show you, I'll do a couple, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about it, and then I'll do a couple more. I've got this one, my next piece of fabric is gonna be this one, some little strawberries on it. So I think I'm gonna come down to about right there. And that gives me quite a bit. Again, it's about 2 inches, I guess, overlap. So on my 14 down there, actually, I want to overlap a little less. I'm going to do 1 inch, because then I'm going to cut off all of that. So I'm going to just do it right in here, so that way I have a little bit less for this one right here. And I start on this way, so this way I'm going to start up over here. Kind of fun just freehanding it. There we go. Move that down. And this is all going to be my waist. And then it's going to look like that. What do you think so far? Yeah. So that gives it a little more interest there, different shapes along the way. So I'm going to go piece this together, and then I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Again, I'm just going to line up like I was showing you. Getting started is the hardest part, but you want to make sure that the very first, you have a 1/4 inch, so you want to make sure you start off just as close as you can to having those two fabrics lined up and at that 1/4 inch. And so they may not line up all the way down here, but right to start, and then that's how you're going to maneuver them together. Okay, so this is the next piece I got on. So we've got that one, and then I put on this next one, which I'm getting into my butterflies. So you can see the different little swoops and valleys. This one I did have a little bit of a pucker right here, and I can show you what I did on the back side. It's kind of hard to see, but I just got a little bit away as I was trying to follow that. I didn't keep it very smooth as I was going along there. You can kind of see that. And it just caused a little bit of a pucker, but I think it will press out. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. It's just a little bit of one there. But anyways, so that's what it looks so far. So I'm going to keep going. I might even have too much fabric, I think, too many different colors. Because really all I'm trying to do is enough for this, so we'll see. I'll be able to add a few more up here, and then I can cut this first one down a little bit too if I want to make sure I have enough room for a little bit more fabrics up there. I think I did this one kind of thick maybe, but again, it's just kind of, you know, we're just making it up as we go as far as how we want it to look. So anyways, there's no rhyme or reason to how many different fabrics you have to have or how thick or thin you need to cut them. So we'll just see where this one ends up laying out. So I'm going to do a couple more, and I'll do another video of me piecing another one together too, just so we have enough video of that and video of me cutting. And then I think this will be close to being finished, and we'll move on to our quilting. So I'm going to cut my next one, and I've got it overlapped just about an inch. And I'm just going to make this one some nice big sweeping ones this time, nothing fancy. And I'm going to go put these two together. Isn't this pretty fabric, by the way? It's like this shimmery butterflies on it, kind of iridescent. I loved it. So I'm going to go piece these ones together, and that's going to be my next one. And then I'll cut it down and see how much. I think I've got enough for maybe 2 more fabrics. All right, so that's what it looks like so far, and I just have one more to do. So I just laid out my little turn dash thing here that we did. So let me just put that up here so you guys can see this. Move that back out a little bit here. You can see it. So I'm kind of right at the top there. So, but by the time I overlap that one and cut it, I'll have a little bit of a strip to be able to do the bumblebees on top. So that is what it's gonna look like. And yeah, so I'm just gonna do this last one. So I was gonna just cut this last one together and get my ruler here, and I'm gonna do some little bumblebees. So I'm gonna overlap this. I think this one about an inch, maybe an inch and a half. Because I'm almost at the top, so I just need a little bit of room. I'm gonna use that as my guide again, make sure that I've got the fabric under there, and give this one a cut out. Hopefully this will look okay. So I got that out of there, and we'll get that one out of there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that pieced on. We'll go over to the sewing machine and we'll piece this last one on together as well. And that will be our little gardenscape area. We'll take a look at it when it's all done. So let's head over to the sewing machine. I'm gonna sew this last one on and we'll call it good. All right, so I'm gonna get those pieces lined up again. I'm just going to take a couple of stitches because we kind of turn right off the bat. So then that gives me an opportunity to get that needle down, holding those together, and then I can start maneuvering these next 2 pieces, making sure I'm right at that edge. Oops. Again, just take your time. It's a lot of fun just coming up with the different shapes, I think, and kind of cutting them out, piecing the different fabrics together. I really enjoy it. It's kind of fun practicing the different wave look you can do. So I think next time I want to try an actual landscape one where I'm gonna kind of do mountains. Maybe I'll do like a grassy hillside within mountains and then go to the sky and kind of make it look like an actual landscape, and then do some quilting on it, or maybe some applique on it would be kind of fun. I've seen that done too. anyways, I'm glad you guys are hanging out and bearing with me with this, since this is only my second time doing it, but I was excited to do a class just because I thought it was a lot of fun. So if I learn any other new tips and tricks while I'm doing it, I'll definitely let you guys know. It takes a little bit of practice, but I think if you go slow, it's not too bad. Oops. Take time to adjust that a little bit. It's getting a little bit out of line there. I'm just gonna finish off. Okay, so that is our last piece. We're gonna go ahead and get this all pressed. But yeah, I think that turned out pretty nice. And then we're gonna just then get this pressed. We'll square it up a little bit, and then we're gonna sew this piece to our little churn dash piece that we made. And that's it. Then we'll be ready for quilting. So get out your templates from your 1/4-3 sub box, and we're gonna play around with those and do some quilting on this to finish it off. There it is. So I went ahead and pieced the churn dash thing that we'd made earlier onto the edge of this. And that is gonna be my Churn in the Gardenscape. So there are all of the pieces we put together. So it ended up being, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pieces of fabric. Whereas my other one that I did the first time, I think I had 11 or 12. So, and again, it just depends. I had a lot of thinner ones on this one. This was my first one that I was practicing. So you can see some of my waves weren't very big. So they didn't kind of stand out as well. It was almost like they were kind of straight. So, and this one was really thin over here. So on my next one, I practiced a lot more doing a lot bigger curves. So then you don't have to use as much fabric, or different fabrics if you don't want to. Or you can use more. I think that's what's kind of fun about it. You just, you know, you could even just start with this part and just make it however you want it. And then if you want to do something over on this side, like the churn dash thing, you can, or your whole quilt could actually just be kind of this wavy quilt. I think that'd be fun. Makes me think of something like a beachy quilt. If we did some like a beachy quilt or wall hanging or little lap quilt, this would be fun to do. And you could do colors of sand down here, and then colors of waves, and then colors of the sky or something. That'd be kind of fun. But anyways, that is that. So I'm gonna put some backing and batting on it, and then we're gonna move on to quilting it. And I don't have anything in particular in mind. On this one, I used embroidery, but we're gonna do rulers on the new one. But I had used the Butterflies in Flight embroidery designs, which turned out pretty good. And our wreath design for over here. So we might do something similar. I think I'll use the Butterflies in Flight template over here, and we'll do some designs, and then we'll do the wreath template over here, or the Spinifex template. I forget which one was in. So I'll go ahead and get those pulled out and get ourselves set up, and we'll do some quilting on it to get it finished. Before I got started on doing the quilting, I wanted to show you, you've probably seen some of these throughout our 1/4-3 box. And I really love how we have a quilting plan for the churn dash blocks. So it's nice that we are putting together this project. I have some churn dash blocks, and then normally I'd be like, okay, what kind of quilting do I want to do on it? So I love that we have these quilting plans. I was just going to go through them real quick again. We have this one, which is really nice. It's using the oval that's inside of the Butterflies in Flight template. And it's a fun one. It's a lot of really simple, just turning the same template around. It's all done with one template other than the middle. Oh, no, I think that's done with the Butterflies in Flight one as well. The oval of the Butterflies in Flight. So that's one quilting plan, and then we have this one, which was done on the mini quilt block, which is the one I'm gonna do for this, except for I'm not gonna do the echoing out here. But that's another one that's really easy and it looks really good on the Churn Dash block. We have this one as well. I haven't done this one yet, but that one's kind of pretty. So this is block C that we're calling it. That's kind of a fun design. And then of course, for the part that we're gonna do in the landscape area, I have the Butterflies in Flight one that we did. So I'm gonna be using the template and do something similar to this over in the, where we did all the curved piecing. And then I'm gonna do this one for the Churn Dashes that we did, the 3 Churn Dashes. So let's get started. I already did 2 of them. And I do have a class already on the university under the Elevate Club that we showed doing the mini Churn Dash block using this same design. So I went ahead and did 2 of them to show you what they would look like. Which I think they turned out pretty good, and I like the blue. So we'll do this 3rd one together. And then all I did was take the same template and then just do one way and one way. So I just put it in the center, did it, stopped with my needle down, flipped it, and then did the other way. And then I thought it would be fun. That's where we'd put like our little blue butterfly right in the middle, the little button. And I'll put that on those 2 that I've done. So anyways, let's get started. So let me just make sure you guys got a good view here. I've got my 8 rotations marked on here. That's how many I'm gonna do. I think we did 16 on the mini, but I'm just gonna do 8 for this one. And I'm gonna go ahead and get my bobbin thread pulled up. If I can, sometimes it's kind of hard to get pulled up. I don't know if you guys struggle with yours sometimes. Sometimes mine comes up really easy and sometimes it doesn't. Oh, hey. Right now it came up really easy. All right, there we go. Put this back in there. Good. So I'm going to start with the larger one first, and I'm just going to do my 8 rotations all the way around. Make sure I'm right. Yeah, there we go. I really liked the blue. I was worried how it was going to turn out, but I think the blue looks nice. I think it stands out just enough. So we're just going to go ahead and do 8 rotations with the 7 or 5-inch Spinifex, number 7. Go this way. That way. Hopefully everyone has got a chance to play with the templates this quarter. Do some fun projects or even just get them out and practice with them. The butterfly one is a lot of fun because there's so much you can do with that one. So I'm excited to work with that one here in a little bit. And then I've always loved our Spinifex templates. They're some of my favorite. I feel they're easy to use. You can do a lot of variety with them depending on the rotations, the different sizes. It's a really easy way to get a nice design quickly, easily. And then if you're new to ruler work too, I feel like they're an easier template to use. That's just my opinion, I guess. But hopefully you guys have had a chance to play around with them. It's kind of nice that this one that came in our club box has 2 different sizes in one template. So that's kind of handy. I'm running out of room where to store all my templates. I felt like I bought this little organizer thing and it has a couple different bins and I thought, oh, that's gonna be plenty, you know? And then I start collecting them and all of a sudden now I've got them labeled like A through L and then L through, and then now I'm running out of room again. So I'm gonna have to even go even lower than that because I'll have to go like A through K or something. It's funny how many you can start collecting, but they're also different and fun. I love the different designs that you can make. So we are just gonna keep going around until we get our full 8 rotations. Stopping with that needle down before we move. Nope. the last one. Making sure I'm lined up right there, that little etched line with my line that I used with my crosshair. And that is our 8 rotations. Goes a little bit faster than 16. So then what we're gonna do is pull this off, and we're gonna do the same thing, but we're gonna use the 3-inch Spinifex. So let me pull this one. Use a little needle slot there to get the template back in there. And we're gonna do 8 rotations with the 3-inch all the way around. Same thing. Still gives it a nice design. You could do 16 if you wanted to. I think it would still look pretty good as well. So there we are. So that is all 3 of them. I don't think I can get all 3 in the camera from this angle right here, but that is all 3 of them done. And then again, I just did 1 little rotation in the middle here. You could do it on the ends if you wanted to, but I'm just gonna do it in the middle, and then I'm gonna put 2 of those little butterfly buttons right there. So, and then I think that's what I'm gonna do over on that side. I don't know if I'm going to do anything down this side strip pieces. Probably not. Just going to do that right there. I feel like there's a lot going on. So I'm going to go give this a press again, make sure it's kind of nice and flat. And then we're going to go ahead and work on this section, doing our butterflies in flight template. So we're going to be using this guy right here. And we're just going to do something similar to the butterflies in flight class, if you've done that one with the panel, where we're just gonna do like maybe the side view of the butterfly. We'll use the little meandering part here, so we can do a little meandering. We'll do a couple little oval flowers, and we'll do a full butterfly and just kind of work our way through it, doing a couple different of those designs. So let's get that going next, and we'll get started here in a second. So here is the Butterflies in Flight class kit, and so this has an entire quilting plan on it with the Butterflies in Flight template, and it's kind of nice too just to get used to using the template. And again, we did a class on that earlier this month, or I think it was last month. But so I'm going to do something similar. I'm not following this obviously exactly, but I'm going to do a full butterfly. I'm going to use a little meandering loops to do, and then do a partial butterfly, and obviously some little flowers with the ovals. So and then the only thing I did change to get started, I also wanted to do just a little Spinifex. So I did 8 rotations and just used the 3-inch, and then to start I just did a little Spinifex flower here, and then I just used this to make my little first meandering here. So that's where I'm going to get started. And I'm going to go ahead and get the butterfly going here. So I'm going to do the left side, and then I'll do the right side. It's a really fun template. I really like it. At first I wasn't 100% sure because it's kind of big, but it really makes a really nice butterfly design. And I've seen other educators do some great classes out of it with Templée, doing some applique. So there's a lot of things that you can do with it. Gonna flip it around here. do our other part. Just far enough away, I couldn't really see whether my lines are lined up or not. I think they are. A nice little head. Okay, so now I'm going to do a little bit of traveling up to do the little ovals. So let me get this out of here. So we're going to do the three little, let's see, I'll show you on the, so we're going to do these little oval designs right here on the wings. So we're just going to travel up the body on one side. And start with a small one. And these you can do any way you want. They're kind of nice because, I mean, you might want to do one small one and then a large one, or a bunch of large ones, or all large ones. I don't know that it really matters. I think that's what makes it unique. It's just doing it different. Have them overlapping a little bit or just touching. Mine are just about just touching. Kind of butt it up to each other. Travel up a little bit more. Do my next one again. And we're going to travel up to the top of the head, and I'm going to do the little antennas. So I'm just going to go take my time. And again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. We do have another class where we go into a little bit more detail doing this and how to use it. Oops. So let's see, let's go this way first. Let me turn it to where I'm kind of can see what I'm doing here. So my butterfly is orientated. So I think I'll go like, flip this around and do the other side. Same way. Then I'm going to come back around this other side and do the ovals on this side. And I'll probably do them just pretty close to across from each other where I did the other one. So I think I did the last one about right there. So I'm going to pop this in. Do my first oval. And travel down a little bit and do the next one. So nice to be able to just kind of slide these in and out with those little slots. And there's my last one. All right, so there's my first butterfly. So what I'm gonna do is I'll probably travel down to right, I might travel back down to right here and then do a loop and then loop up this way and then do another little flower, and then we'll do part of a butterfly. So I'm gonna get started on that. So here's the butterfly we just did, and then I just did a little loop up here, did a little oval thing here, another loop, and now I'm gonna do another butterfly, and I think I'm gonna do another full one, and then we'll loop up over here, do another, well, no, I don't want 2 flowers right back to back. Maybe we'll just do the half a butterfly. We'll do like the side view of the butterfly. So it'll look like, let's get this in here. Let's see, so it'll kind of look like this right here. Just gonna do a little bit of a side view of a butterfly. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I was running low on time, so that's why I'm kind of doing some of it I'm filming, and then some of it I'm just doing it off camera. But we have a lot of classes out there using the butterfly and flight template, so you can always watch other classes as well too if you feel like you want to get a little bit more instruction on using it. If you've never used it, you can buy that class kit, and it comes with the practice panel and the template, which is kind of nice. So let me flip this here so I can get the rest of the body and the rest of the head. Get that lined up. Let's see, actually I probably need to turn it this way because I can't really see. It was so far away. Let's see here. So it's nice we have those little etched lines that you can match up. That's pretty good about right there. I think I'm gonna stop right about there and do the antennas. All right, let's see. I think I'll do it. Really having a hard time seeing how my, here we go. Went a little too far, so I'm gonna back up just a little bit. Make my head a little wonky there. Let's get the other, oh. So since this is a side butterfly, we're actually gonna do both of his antennas kind of the same way. We're just gonna offset them a little bit. Okay. And then we can travel back down and we'll do a couple little ovals on this wing here. Slow down, so let me just, oops. Backtrack here. And let's do some ovals. Give our wing a little bit of interest. I think I'm just gonna do 2 big ones on this one. I'll make it so they kind of overlap some. All right. right, so that is the partial butterfly there. And we can also, on one of the classes, we show you how you can kind of shadow this wing as well if we wanted to do that, to kind of give it, I think we should. It does look better. Let's go up and do that. I didn't do that part. So let me travel back up to the head. Actually, do I want to, actually I'm going to travel down and do it backwards so that where I stopped is where I want to begin with my meandering. So I'm going to travel. It's a little bit of a travel, but that's all right. It's good practice. Come back up here. Let's see, I think how we want it is, I'm gonna start here and come back to there, and then I'll just give it like a little bit of a shadow of the wing. So let me come up a little bit further. Sounds like I need to change my needle, which doesn't surprise me. I've been working a lot with this. Okay, so now I'm gonna flip this around, use my spacing gauge, let me track it down somewhere around here. Here it is. So I kind of want to end up back right here at the top of his head. So I'm going to use that as kind of my I'm just trying to give it like a little bit of a shadow to kind of make it look like there's two wings there. Perfect. Oops. Moved a little bit. There we go. Let me turn that around so you guys can see it. There. So it's got like a little bit of a shadow to his wing there. And so then what we're gonna do next, I think we're gonna just meander. We're gonna use our little meandering part of the template. I'm gonna just meander over here. We'll probably do a couple little more flowers, and then we'll do another maybe big butterfly over here, and then end with a couple flowers over there. So I'll keep you posted on how it looks. I just wanted to give you kind of an in-process shot here. I was trying to get it to where it would really show the stitching on here. I can see it really good in person, but it didn't look like it was really showing up that well on the camera. So I just started with the Spinifex here, and then came and did the full butterfly here. Then did a couple little loop-de-loos, did a little bit of an oval flower here, another loop-de-loo, did the side profile of a butterfly, a couple more loop-de-loos, and I did another side profile of the butterfly, but I flipped it the other way. And then I had a little bit of open space, so I used the 5-inch Spinifex right here, and then this over here was the ovals that are on the butterfly template, and I just did a little 8 rotation of the ovals down there. So I think I just have this little place at the top. I think I'm just gonna do a couple more of the Spinifex flowers and the oval flowers along the top, because I've already got 3 butterflies. I've got my full one. I don't think I could do another full one, and I've just got these 2 right here already. So I think I'm gonna end with some little Spinifex flowers at the top. I'll show you what it looks like when it gets done. I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then I think that'll finish the project. So I'll be back. All right, so here was the first one I did, my kind of practice one. And you can definitely see like my curved, my peaks and valleys were not very pronounced on my very first one that I did. But here's the second one that we did together. So I like it a lot better. I like I feel like the peaks and valleys, doing them a little bit more pronounced, makes it more purposeful. So where I feel like when I didn't do them quite as much, it was like, oh, did I just not sew straight or what's going on there? So it definitely looks more interesting or visually interesting, I think, when you have a lot more interest with the peaks and valleys. So that is what it looks like finalized. And I just finished with those different flowers at the top using the spinifex and the ovals. And then of course I had the butterflies in flight that I used and the spinifex. And then I did put those little pink buttons right there in the middle of that little one we did right there. And that is a finished project. So I hope you guys like it. I hope it was fun. I am really excited to do more of these. I want to do, like I said, like a real landscape one. So stay tuned. I might do another class on them. I'll keep practicing, and I love doing the little waves and piecing them together. Again, it turns out really nice and does give a visually interesting project. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you next quarter with some new classes. So I hope you guys are having fun, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you so much, Melissa. Absolutely loved that project. I actually really want to do some landscape projects too. I think it's really fun to be able to kind of take scraps that you have and do more with them and, kind of put them together in something like that's unique like that. So I wanted to go ahead and take a quick moment to share with you the brand new Churn Dash Challenge project that we have available for you to join in on our website. That would be a great one to include if you guys want to dive in and do your own version of that. I highly recommend it. All you need to do is head on over, take one of those project classes that you got in your box or that you're inspired by in our class series that we're offering this quarter, and join the challenge. So, our Turn Dash Challenge, our lucky winner will win $75 in So Steady credits. And again, that can be used towards all kinds of amazing goodies because every single quarter we've got new stuff rolling out. And so I will post a link to this and have you dive in and start sharing your projects. So thank you all again for joining us today. This is a little bit more about that, but I've just posted a link so you can go ahead and sign up for it as well. And we'll look forward to having you join us tomorrow, where Donnell will be taking you through the practice panel that we are highlighting this quarter in the box using those butterflies and flights templates, specifically the oval designs that you have on that template. So hopefully you can get started with that, pull it out, and be ready to quilt along with Donnell tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll be sharing more of education every Wednesday and Thursday. And of course, Kathy goes live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday as well. So we will just keep sharing with you as all of our amazing educators have these classes to share.